client sat across from me, £800,000 in a pension pot, mortgage paid off, ISA pretty well funded. On paper, they'd done everything right. But there was just something about the conversation when I talked about retirement with them, a dissatisfaction about the idea of retiring, something I could tell was worrying them. I remember when we got into discussing the idea of leaving work, the thing that we'd been planning for years, the thing that they'd seemed so keen to do. They paused and I remember them saying, I'm just not sure what I'm going to do. And that kind of stopped me cold. And I thought about all the tax planning and the financial plans and all that. And I thought, well, actually, this has got nothing to do with money. You see, in the last decade of helping people retire, I've discovered something quite uncomfortable. The financially prepared are often the most emotionally devastated because they've spent years optimizing their pension while completely ignoring 5 things that actually really determine whether retirement becomes the best chapter of your life or a bit of a lonely one. I'm George Egan, I'm a chartered financial planner, a fellow of the Personal Finance Society. I've helped thousands of people retire without worry, and today I'm going to share 5 regrets I hear most often from retirees and exactly how you can avoid each one of them. So let's continue with what I was telling you about my client. See, to understand these regrets, you need to understand something most people never hear about. Retirement isn't a one phase, it's several. And there's a dangerous period that can catch quite a few people out, I've seen. Even the most financially prepared can get caught off guard. The phase 1 is kind of like the honeymoon. For the first few months, you're really happy. No alarm, no commute, freedom. But then comes phase 2, and this is where things can change. The British Psychological Society reports that many people take up to 3 years to fully adjust to retirement. And during that time, in their own phrase, they say they're grieving for their job. Some of you might have laughed when you hear that, but I can kind of understand it. Isn't that strange though? You know, almost grieving for a job that a lot of people can't wait to leave. The danger period tends to hit around kind of like months 6 to 12. The jobs around the house are done, the initial excitement fades, it's a rainy Tuesday in February, and suddenly you're thinking, is this it? Is this what I worked 40 years for? It can often come with a bit of a status change. You know, you can maybe be someone who's had a team and then you can't even get a plumber to turn up on time. And spending? Well, the same habits that made you financially successful make it quite difficult sometimes to loosen the purse strings. If your identity is an accumulator, how do you shift that overnight? But the thing is, this stuff is completely preventable if you know what's coming and you prepare for it. But just before we dive into these regrets, if you're planning to retire in the next 5 to 15 years, I would strongly suggest sign up to my email list. You'll get a link to my retirement masterclasses, one on inheritance tax planning, which is even more important now pensions are going to be inside the estate from 2027. It's free, you can always unsubscribe if you don't like it, and link is in the description. So the first regret is I had nothing to retire to. Let me tell you about a client, I'm just going to call him David for privacy reasons. So David spent like 30 years in tech for one of the big banks. Long hours, demanding clients, quite high stress. One of those things where it was actually quite hard to get through to him because you've always got to pick up the phone because he can't use his phone and work. Anyway, for decades, retirement was kind of the golden carrot. It was the thing that he was really looking forward to. And I can imagine he'd visualized walking out the door loads. And then we came to our meeting 6 months before he came to retire. And there was definite hesitation. Not euphoria, not relief, just worry. You see, David had made a really classic mistake. He'd spent decades planning his escape from work, but he never once really thought what he was escaping to. And this is why I had to push back so much in the meetings around things like this. Most people never consider work gives us more than a salary. It gives us structure, purpose, social connection, identity, status, accomplishment. Strip out all of that overnight, even with quite a lot in the bank, you can feel a bit lost. I had another client say something to me which really made me laugh, but it kind of stuck in my mind. And he was talking about retirement, some of the friends he'd seen. He said, George, they're not retired, they're waiting to die. And I remember laughing quite nervously. I kind of understood what he meant, and I have seen this with other people. So what do the happiest retirees do differently? They tend to kind of build it on kind of 3 pillars. And one is physical purpose, you know, something that keeps you moving. Not just I'll play more golf, but a genuine commitment to their health so that they remain sharp. So I don't know whether for you that's weekly tennis. I've got clients who seem to be into that paddle thing, you know, swimming, fitness classes. Getting yourself moving to stay physically fit is important. The next is if we lift weights to be physically fit, we also need to stay mentally sharp. So the next bit is kind of mental purpose, something that keeps and challenges your mind. Whether that's learning Spanish, whether that's writing the novel you've been putting off, a small consultancy, a charity board, teaching, mentoring. Your brain does need to have that challenge. The final one is kind of social purpose. And there is some data out there suggesting that being lonely is worse for you than smoking. We are social creatures, and something that connects you with others is important. Now, that might be looking after the grandkids, that might be volunteering, joining clubs, community. Think about those three things, because retirement is about having enough purpose to get out of bed in the morning and enough money to sleep at night. The purpose doesn't have to be world-changing, you don't have to be Mother Teresa, but it has to be enough to give you something to look forward to every single day. So the second regret is that people often didn't invest into friendships outside of work. And here's what happens. For 20, 30, sometimes even 40 years, a lot of times, especially if family happens, your primary social circle tends to revolve around work. They're the people you see every day before COVID. Grab lunch, maybe complain about management. They become your community by default. The moment you retire, that scaffolding changes overnight. And it can be difficult, because we're so busy with work, to cultivate those relationships outside the office. I think men are quite susceptible to this, and the data backs that up. There was research from the Belonging Forum in 2024, and it said that 15% of men aged 55 to 64 reported having no close friends at all. And that's, I don't think, because men don't want friendships, it's because how we socialise. A lot of the research shows that men's friendships typically are built around activities, doing things together rather than emotional disclosure. Anyway, I am not a psychologist. I'm just saying that your social circle is like anything in life: work, exercise, health. If you neglect it for years, you can't expect it to be thriving when you try and pick it back up. So my practical advice is, if you can, start now. Don't wait till retirement. Join groups if you don't feel that you've got a big enough social circle. Reconnect with old friends. Make an effort. Because when you come to retire, these are the relationships that will sustain you. Okay, regret 3. I waited a bit too long to live. I do remember I was traveling to sitting in a client's kitchen, and there was a lovely couple, and unfortunately the husband had had an unexpected stroke at an age that was much before people would typically think that would happen. And I do remember them saying to me, that they'd saved for years. They've dreamed about these European trips, these cruises, whatever. They could afford any trip they wanted, but they couldn't practically do it. And when you're in meetings like that, it's kind of hard not to have a bit of a real feeling of sadness. You kind of mourn the life that hasn't been lived, the sacrifices I'm sure they've made for the money in the bank account that just couldn't happen. And the uncomfortable truth that we have to acknowledge is that your health at 50 probably isn't going to be your health at 65. And your health at 65 definitely isn't going to be your health at 80. I can go over ONS stats which will scare you and tell you a healthy life expectancy is in your early 60s. I don't want to generalize on that, because it doesn't mean you're going to be in a wheelchair at the age 60. There are genetic things here, there is lifestyle. This is way beyond what I would ever deal with as a financial planner. There is an insight here, which is how you feel about your health matters enormously when planning what you want to do with your life, and you are the architect of your life, so it's important to take control as much as you can. The utility of money changes over time. I just want you to think about maybe the first trip that you had, perhaps maybe early 20s or whatever, the first proper independence trip, maybe one that you had with friends. Think about how it felt to spend money at that time. Think about, and now it's difficult because you have to think about inflation with this, but the money that you were given is probably a tiny amount that you then received in your 40s or 50s, or maybe not a tiny amount, but an amount that doesn't change your life in any way. But it was massive for you back then, and the experiences it unlocked were huge as well. But there is some insight here, which is that when we're planning your retirement, we need to, if possible, front load the experiences. Because the later life stuff, making sure you've got enough, that is important, but it's not guaranteed. So we need to try and find a way, and this is difficult, this is a complex problem, for living for today without it being at the expense of tomorrow. Now, the way we do it here is we use cash flow plans, we stress test this scenario, and we look at what would happen if we needed to adapt in the case of particularly adverse scenarios or market events. That's the best way we can give you peace of mind to, yes, take the holiday now if you can. Regret number 4 is an interesting one, and it speaks to couples, and it's that we didn't actually talk about what we wanted in retirement. I have sat across with married couples, and one maybe sometimes they're like the spreadsheet person, and they're really, really methodical. The other person sometimes is not that interested in money, and their visions when we talk about what a great retirement would look like can often differ quite a lot. And that's actually something I find is part of my role, to really uncover that and try and find a singular, cohesive picture when we can. It can lead to quite an uncomfortable silence sometimes when we're talking about stuff and we're going, right, okay, how do you feel about the differences between your plans? A great retirement might mean very different things to different people. So let me give you some example of kind of some archetypes that I've seen, and you can have a think about whether this applies to you. You might have like the explorer, and that's the person who kind of wants adventure, new experiences. The point of retirement is they want that freedom. Maybe they've not had it in earlier life for whatever reason. They want to make sure they can live as much of life as they can and travel and all the rest of it. There are others, I'm going to call them the nester, who they really like the stability. Maybe family is absolutely crucial. Maybe it's community involvement. They want to slow down, enjoy their own time. If that is pottering around, which is a phrase I hear a lot, then great. It's about that comfort. You also have achievers. Now, they sometimes see retirement as another project, and maybe they've got a bit disenchanted with work and they want to do some different consultancy, and you can just tell that intellectual engagement, whether it's fixing the motorbike or whether it's doing something else, that's going to be really important to them going forward. And then there is the relaxers who just want stress-free living, time for hobbies, walks. The relaxers often don't cost anything for their plans. All of those archetypes can be a version of you in retirement. But really have a think about what one suits you best and what type of retirement works. And does this align to your other partner? It's not a problem if it doesn't, but if you've got a nester and an explorer, you need to have a conversation about how these two things are going to work together. Okay, regret number 5 is often, I wish I'd simplified things before I retired. So picture this, it's your first month of retirement. You wake up in your house and you feel a bit overwhelmed. The garden needs weeding, the gutters need cleaning, the boiler needs doing again. You're having to realise how expensive all the renovations are. You've got bedrooms full of stuff that you haven't touched for years. Suddenly you're asking yourself the question, I can't believe I ever worked. Now, if I'm being honest, from what I've seen, part of that is because pace slows, which is a good thing. But it's also because a lot of those tasks were never cleared, and they come into sharp focus when you retire. During our working years, we kind of accumulate stuff. We might buy bigger houses. We might not have time to do the projects. But in retirement, it's potentially a 7-day Saturday. Every squeaky door needs doing. And that does take time and energy. And this might be you. As I mentioned before, some people genuinely enjoy DIY and home maintenance, and that's good for them. But it comes back to being intentional. You need to make sure the retirement that you want actually happens so that you don't get disillusioned. And a tip, maybe if you are working and you're on the lead up to retirement, what projects could you do before so you can enjoy your time? This is especially important when it actually comes to planning for your retirement. So I've just talked about a lot of house stuff, but let's think about life admin. Do you know where all your pensions are? Have you done powers of attorney and wills? What about bank accounts? Have you accumulated different pots in different places then when money's not working for you? What's your life admin like? Could it be streamlined? What happens if something unfortunately happened to you? Do your family know where things are? Simplifying this before retirement can pay dividends, figuratively and literally, because when the time comes, you can be really thoughtful about what retirement means to you. So going back to that client I mentioned at the start, they are going to continue work. They are going to do part-time work, stay engaged, and then start to explore some hobbies, keep them active, but also take a half step into retirement. I think that's definitely the best decision for them, and it's a reversible decision. If they're not enjoying work, they can stop. The point is that they'd planned for financial security, and we needed to do some work to plan for fulfillment. The most financially successful retirees often aren't always the happiest. The happiest are the ones who understood that financial planning is just the foundation. It's the structure of a great retirement, but a great retirement is often built on purpose, relationship, health, community, and simplicity. As a chartered financial planner, my job is to make sure you don't run out of money, but it is your job to make sure that your retirement gives you everything that you worked for. So whether we're fortunate enough to work together or not one day, please don't make the mistake of only planning for financial security. Plan for purpose, plan for connection. Your future self will thank you. The choice is yours, but the time to start planning is now. Thanks for watching.